that lyric was the first time I felt somebody understood what I was going through.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There was no f***ing handbook for this, okay? They didn't care. All they knew is it was time to go back in the studio. It was the only time I was violent in the studio. I threw a stool through the glass window in Capitol Records.
Were you there?
I had conquered all that boys clip and everything else, but this next part, oh no, this is something else altogether.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Are we all Roman Catholics?
Yes.
Raised, yes.
Raised, yes.
Latin masses?
Yes.
Yes, Polish and Latin.
A lot of incense
Jesus on the cross.
on the
Yes.
cross, Stations of the Cross.
Oh yeah, confession.
So I feel like we have some kindred understanding.
Oh,
Of course,
yeah.
we're both Rust Belt Midwesterners.
That's correct, correct. In the pew, I had my mother to the left, my sister in the end, my mother, myself, my father. My father's tone deaf. My mother could sing.
So you got
And I would be having vertigo when the incense, frankincense would go on, and I'd be going, oh my God. And I, one pitch and no pitch. That was pretty
But you
weird.
went to Catholic school.
I sure did.
Our kids did too. I did not. I went to public school.
Yes. I saw that note on you guys, and I thought, okay, we got to start here because it sort of defines, I think,
It starts
everything that we get into.
The Midwest and Roman Catholic.
It might have something to
makes
do with
sense.
rebellion or
Yes.
I don't
Are
really.
you the same? Are you close to the same age as we are?
I'm 57.
Oh,
No, we're
okay. So we're
yeah,
a lot older than you.
Well, we'll get to how I know both of you.
I was just going to ask you about did you go to church and the?
I didn't go to Catholic school. I went
No,
to
but you
public
went to church. I'm assuming.
My stepmother was a Roman Catholic. What was cool about the Roman Catholic church that we went to, this would have been about 73, 74. They realized that they weren't getting young parishioners. So they took a side building and they set up the young cool priest.
Correct.
And they started doing day by day.
Oh, yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And I remember thinking,
Our kids
oh,
did
this
that.
is so cool. Because
Yeah.
and the priest would make jokes about the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's
You're
right.
like, wow, a priest is talking about the Super Bowl. He's giving a prediction on the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you felt like I was the cool priest. But
We had the same thing. Absolutely.
Really?
And I remember my mother
had
saying,
that? We didn't have
yeah,
that.
well, you start, all of a sudden you had a guitar player on stage and they would be, the songs would change and my
When you
mother
were
never
young?
liked it. Sure. It came later,
with our kids, but not me.
no, it happened when I was 15 or something, 14.
day by day, that was the big one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, let's start here because I want to talk about your
Yeah.
children's book. Tell me.
Yeah.
Because I want to write a children's book, so I'm jealous.
Oh, you should. It's so fun.
What is Grandparent's book?
Okay.
So it's not, we didn't do the children, we did grandchildren because as you will find out, or if you have grandchildren, everything they say about them is true.
Okay.
You-
Can you give me an example?
I'll give you an example. When your children are born, you're having a great time, you love your children, and you think it can never get any better. But then grandbabies come and you go, how did this happen? My sister told me about it, I couldn't believe it. And when we had them, I went, she was right.
Is it the notion that you get to kind of parachute in and parachute out? Or
Yeah, but that's not even.
But there's this connection of love that's so powerful.
You have this other thing with them. They're not your
crazy.
physical. You didn't have them. They love you so much. It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
And you're their favorite person on earth, and they're never mad at you. Your kids get mad at you and stuff, but not your grandchildren.
They're the best.
that's my grandparents were my rock in
That's
my
true.
in my
That's
turbulent
true.
youth.
So we wrote a
I-
book. It's called My Grandma and Grandpa Rock.
So are you the guys, the characters, or so I don't know anything about the context of the book.
Yes.
Yes, we begin,
Well,
we're
we
the
begin the story,
characters,
yeah.
and then we explain all the diversity, all the different grandmas and grandpas and what their names are,
Okay.
and what they do for a living, and
All right.
all
The
that stuff.
concept is that our grandchildren are saying, my grandma and grandpa rock. But we're saying in the book that we bet your grandmas and grandpas rock
okay.
too. And then
I
we
get
show
that.
all the different ways that other people that are grandparents
So
rock.
whose idea was it?
Us together.
Yeah, and they just came to us, you would like the idea? I said, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question for you.
Sure.
What do your children call you?
Daddy.
Daddy?
Yeah.
We're Papa, because Italian Sicilian,
Right,
so
right.
it's Papa. So even the grandbabies call me Papa, not Grandma.
Is
a
she
grandpa.
Is she known to them?
No, they
No.
wouldn't do anything. They
She
call me
didn't do
grandpa,
anything
but
like that.
It's okay. I
But
love
when
it.
she was reading the book, the oldest one, she was looking, she's reading, and Grandpa, she goes, you're not, it should be Papa. So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
it's fun.
So, okay, I want to start with you. Bank teller? Was that? So you were bank, is it Virginia, right? You're bank teller?
Yeah, I got married the first time really young.
Yeah.
Because I
Just you as a bank teller,
Oh,
it seems like such a good way to start.
That's a good thing.
well, it was great being in the South because, I was wearing a leopard dress, and we had to wear a dress.
This is around 70.
Yeah, like 70. No,
Oh,
early.
early.
Two.
Sorry, okay,
two.
sorry.
So I was like 20 years old. I'm wearing a leopard dress, and we had to wear dresses, and I was really mad because, I'm from New York, and there's no such thing as that dress code. I mean, they're ridiculous. So we had to wear a dress, and it used to make me crazy because the staircase that went up to the break room was a floating staircase, an open staircase, and the loan officers, who were all men, sat underneath it. So I didn't want to wear a dress, so when they told me I had to wear a dress, I wore a leopard dress. And so people would come to my window in South Carolina, because that was the first place I was a bank
Just have a little accent there right here.
and they would say to me, Benatar, that's not a local name. And I go, no, I'm from New York. And they go, I'll go to the next window.
Really?
Yeah, so that was that. But then, when I went to Virginia, they were much more liberal, and it was, it was fun. And
Right.
It was a way to make money.
The reason I want to start there is because this is when your first recording day gig?
Yes, because when I was in Virginia, I started singing besides working at the bank and going to VCU, I also was in this bar band, and we were doing, cover songs and stuff, and the guy who was the piano player for that band also wrote songs, and that was one of the first songs.
I was surprised because it has a little bit of like a Curtis Mayfield, Dionne Warwick.
They were like, they were like a bar, like.
Sort of on the loungy side.
Yeah, like
But did you have professional aspirations at that point, or it was just kind of a?
No, it was like I sang. I always sang my whole life, and
Yeah.
I was working and going to school, and I thought, well, this will be fun.
Because my father was a kind of a club bar musician,
Mm-hmm.
so I remember those times pretty well. And a lot of people were playing, and a lot of people didn't have professional aspirations.
Yeah.
There seemed to be a lot of bands, and
I mean, I did when I was, the plan when I was growing up and in school was to go to Juilliard, and then that was the whole thing. I was being prepared to do that, and then my boyfriend at the time got drafted, and I was afraid he was going to die in Vietnam, which he didn't. And I married him, but anyway, but that's why I didn't. I dropped all the professional aspirations because I decided to go to school and be a school teacher and whatever.
okay, so you're over here, bank teller, little side hustle with music, but no real like I'm going to be a star vibe.
No, not until I did that bar band thing, and then I realized how much I really love singing. And then I just decided one day to quit that bar band and go back to New York, and that's when I did. But he started really young.
Right. Because you're like, were you in Cleveland or in New York? Because I get a little confused on that. When did you go to New York?
I went to New York when I joined Rick Derringer's band.
Okay, so let me go early because is this in Cleveland like you're like a lot of kids of that generation? You're listening to the Kinks, the Who, and Yardbirds.
Yeah.
And so did you want to be a rock star? It was like,
Well, Sicilian family, right? Growing up Italian Sicilian. And my father wanted me to play guitar so I could do duets with my sister who played accordion, so we can do the songs of the old country. This was the idea. And then
I grew up in this world too.
so you know what's going on.
That's why I'm laughing.
You understand? It was supposed to be.
I know. Trust me, I had the speech one day. You don't want to play guitar, you want to play accordion.
Yeah. Well, I eventually did start playing accordion too because
There was money there.
I didn't like my sister. I didn't care for how she played, so I got a little weird. I'm a little weird. Sorry about that. Yeah, she knows about that. But that was the idea. After church on Sundays for your family, and you were going to do these duets. I was 6 years old when I started playing guitar. My uncle Timmy was my mentor. He's only 4 years older than me, so he moved in because my grandpa passed away early. He was it's like having an older brother, so that was super cool.
Older brother.
Wild older brother.
Right. But it's like a lot of those guys, like back in the day, you're just playing with bands, teen bands, high school dances. Like, what was your kind of?
Well, a little different because I never cared for contemporary pop music. I did, but I wanted it to be different. I didn't want to do cover songs. I wanted to do original songs, even when I was very young, 12. But what I used to do too, which is very weird, and I think back on it, you know how it applies to what you do as well. When you grow up, you filter in all these inspirational people, right? and you don't always know them. Maybe you've never seen them listen to the records and you're playing along and you don't know what they look like or anything.
Yeah.
And stuff goes in, right? And then as time goes, you don't forget about it, but it shows up in your playing, singing, writing,
course,
right?
yeah.
Sure.
So what I would do is I would get a record. My Uncle Timmy would buy me a record. I'd get a record. I'd listen to the record, and I'd listen to all the songs back to back, and I'd start writing songs at an early age because I
So what age was that?
about 12.
That's pretty
something
early
like
to start writing
Yeah,
songs.
12, 13. The songs probably were terrible. But the idea was I was so inspired by the record in all the songs, I'd say, I'll start writing instead of playing the parts on the record.
Yeah.
And that's how I began that. And that's why I as a musician, I use instruments as tools. My main goal is to make great songs, great records. So that's how I always thought, and I still think to this day.
Yeah.
So it's all about that to me.
Yeah.
So I started real young. I don't know if there's a song in your life span when you were a kid that you heard that kind of defined where you were going to go.
Yeah.
When I heard Elvis Presley, Heartbreak Hotel, because
Yeah.
we're like 12 years older. So
Yeah.
when I heard that on the hi-fi system my parents had, and I could hear the spatialness of the song, but I was really young, but I can hear the richness of the voice and the reverb and the openness of the song.
Wasn't that made like at RCA in New York or something? Like it's when
Heartbreak
Elvis
Hotel?
had left Sun.
Yeah, I don't remember.
that whole story where-
1956,
Yeah.
I think it
well,
was.
Sam
something.
Phillips sold Elvis's contract
to RCA.
RCA.
Correct.
For $35,000.
Yeah, I know. That was
And
ridiculous.
but that's the first time Elvis is in a real studio.
It was amazing.
And the bass on that record is
Richness.
Just that, like you can tell it's stand-up bass.
Everything. But the spatialness, there's a piano, there's...
Do you remember who wrote that song? Is it
Well,
Doc Thomas? Or
He
is
has credit for writing it.
Oh, but
there's I think there's two other people that wrote
Is
it.
it Lieber Stoller maybe?
No. It's not who you
You know what?
think.
You're right. It's like kind of this. They're almost kind of an obscure writing dude.
I think it was a guy and a girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they...
Yeah.
I don't know
Because I was
exactly
reading
what they
about
did.
this recently. That's why. Yeah.
But it was so thunderous, the whole feel of that. And right then I kind of went, that's what I
Was
hear.
it that it had a kind of a cinematic aspect to it too?
Well, that's funny you mentioned that thing because a lot of times in arranging and producing, I hear stuff in a cinematic form, like an architectural form.
Yeah.
You know, where you have the vocal here and you have the reverb and the snare and all these instruments.
Yeah.
But I see that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's how I don't do colors. I don't do red, green, and that sounds blue. I don't do that. But I do more architecturally. You know,
I get it.
it's a
I
weird
get it.
thing, but it always works.
Okay,
it worked
so
like that.
how do we get you to New York now? So, because you're
Yeah.
this.
Because I wake up one day and I decide that, you know what, this is ridiculous. I should be singing. And I went and I quit.
So you had that
Which
feeling.
he's from New York too. So
No, I get
Long
that, but
Island.
I'm saying.
When I quit the bank job. I left the band. They were
How do
like,
you? I got to hear this. So
they're saying to
when
me,
you march
like-
into the office, I'm leaving. Like,
No, I just quit and I just.
was it dramatic? No dramatic.
No, I mean, it was dramatic for those guys. I mean, we were doing regionally in that part of the country, like, we had a PBS special, you know.
Really?
Yeah, we did all this kind of stuff, and I said, I'm going back to New York, and oh, you'll be back, you know, and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff, and I'm like, I never looked back, but you know, that was it, and I just decided this is crazy, and I'm going back to New York, and you can't do something for real here. This is great, you know. You can
Yeah.
be like a big fish in a small
Is
pond.
this
but-
Richmond?
Yeah, and fabulous. I mean, I had the best time. I loved everything. It was great. The people were darling. We had the best time. It was so much fun. But I knew I had to go back to New York,
Okay.
and that was that.
So your apocryphal story is a Catch a Rising Star. You're on stage.
Yeah, I go on at 2:45 in the morning.
Is it just a kind of a open mic?
It's open mic. That's what
Okay.
it was. So I went,
Is it
I just-
Rockabye Baby or
That's right, 'cause
Dixieland?
I was
Melody?
still doing like cabaret music, you know. You have to understand that even though like his whole sensibility started as a young child, the only part of my life that was about pop music and rock and roll music was what I liked as a person, not as a performer.
Sure.
Because my whole thing was about classical music and theater. I was in every musical that was possible to be
Yeah.
in. But my favorite singers were like, you know, Robert Plant and, you know, the Four Tops.
But I also saw mention of you being inspired by Liza Minnelli.
No, this is a
that-
total
okay.
fallacy.
Okay, great. But that's the problem with the
It's
internet.
a total fallacy that I had all of my gay friends.
Because I love Liza. That's why I was going to ask
I mean,
you.
I love her mother. I mean, she's fabulous, but that's not what happened.
Yep, tell me the real story.
I'm going to tell you what
Yeah.
happened. I have all my gay friends in Richmond, okay? They say, we're going to go see Liza Minnelli at the whatever, Richmond Coliseum. It's
Yeah.
a giant thing. I'm working in the bank. I'm singing with, no, I'm not singing yet.
Okay.
I'm just working in the bank.
All right.
These are my friends that I work with at the bank, the gay guys. They want to go. I'm like, sure, whatever. I loved her mother. She's great. Let's go. We go. Here's what happens. The lights are still on in the building. The stage is dark. She's not out yet. I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, And then the lights come on, she comes out and she starts singing. And I say to myself, are you kidding me? I can do that. And I quit the next day. So it's not her.
Well, but God bless Liza, because she
That's
was
what I always
there in
say.
the right. Did you
It
ever meet
wasn't-
Liza?
Sure. But it wasn't her as a performer. It was what she was doing
know.
inside this building.
I just want to talk about Liza. That's why I'm poking you about
It's
it.
the rumor. One
I
person
know,
starts
it's
it, by the
like,
time at
No,
the end
no,
of
I
the
get
day
that.
it changes.
Oh my God! No, Robert Plant and Levi Tubbs. Those are the people. You know what I'm saying?
From Ford
Tubbs
Tops,
and
yeah.
like Joni Mitchell. These are the people that
Okay,
were in,
yeah.
and John Lennon.
No, I just thought it was an interesting, thing.
I
so-
know. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
So is Chrysalis, somebody from Chrysalis sees you and
I'm in New York,
And you're gonna be a star
I'm
kid.
showcasing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making.
but are you looking for a deal?
I'm making the transition from,
Okay.
from being a cabaret musical theater singer. Took me 3 years.
Okay.
Start working with songwriters because I'm so used to still singing other people's music and emulating, what their performances are. And
People in your ear, because there's always somebody in your ear when you're young, what were they telling you that you should be? Because obviously we know who
told
you
me
became.
I should be Olivia Newton-John. They said, look how good she's doing. And are you crazy? Girls don't do
You
this.
could have
Girl-
done that, no problem.
Of course, but girls don't sell at Madison Square Garden. And I was like, And that's all I needed. That's all you had to say. Done.
Was Liza Minnelli.
And girls can't sell at Madison Square Garden. That's
Eliza
all you had
could.
to say.
Sorry,
whole
couldn't. It
Liza-
was a bad joke. So you get offered a deal, and now
Well,
you're
first I have to go through like 3 years of the transition.
okay.
which
But
was-
then the movie, that's a quick cut.
I know, but it's not that quick because it
I know,
was-
no, I wanna
it
hear
was
about-
me, like,
I'm
sing-
actually mo-
It was me starting to sing, like trying to sing Satisfaction. I sounded like Julie Andrews. It was like not, and I
Is that where you kind of? Because when I first heard you, what amazed me is I love that you had a rock quality to your voice. That's my earliest memories of listening to you. I was like, wow, I actually like a woman singing rock.
That was learned though because I loved it so much. I just didn't know how to take everything that I had here.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was natural because
It was the most unnatural thing on earth. But
that was
together,
for me as a young fan. That was like that's what attracted me. I
well,
was
good.
Like, I
my
love
work
that.
is
Oh
done.
yeah.
But it was
Yep.
because I was working with guitar, guitar players and everything. Everybody was, and they were patting me on the head, like, yes, yes, we understand. Yes, and I'm like, no, you don't understand at all. And when I signed with Chrysalis, I still didn't know Spider yet. And that first we still had Heartbreaker. What do we have? Heartbreaker, I Need a Lover.
No.
We had Heartbreaker.
That's
And
it,
we
yeah.
had, I don't know, something, I don't know, we had a few
Don't
songs.
skip, don't jump my storyline because
but wait,
I got to talk about
But I have to tell you
Rick
this.
Derringer.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna get there, but the point is that
You did warn me, by the way.
I did.
told
I
you to.
warned you.
I know, but let me
I
just
tried to
finish
warn
this
you.
No,
before
please,
you
please,
talk
please.
about it.
No, I'm actually really interested because I think the problem is
But I'm getting to him, which is really important. Is that I couldn't find anybody who actually understood what I was doing.
okay, I get that.
They're patting me on the head. We actually made a beginning of a record, 5 songs with Chrysalis, me, and all these people they put together, Waddy and all these people. And Terry Ellis came to me when we did the 5 songs, and while we were doing it, I was thinking, oh my God, this is my one chance, and this is not it. And I'm
not
like
working.
freaking out. And he comes to me and he says to me, it's the first time I don't want you to expect too much. And I said to
Oh
him,
my God.
I expect everything. Okay?
Has that changed? Or?
And
No,
it
that's never
got
changed.
That's
why I'm quiet right now.
It got scrapped. It got scrapped. And then Mike Chapman came in with Peter Cole. Now, Mike didn't do a whole lot of work.
But don't
Mike-
jump my story.
You're jumping
it's
ahead.
coming to him.
No, but you're jumping way ahead.
No, because it's important.
You're jumping.
Because let me give you a perspective, right? First time I ever see your husband is he's with you. So that's all I know as a fan. But when I actually do the research, it's like, oh, he did this, and
No,
there was
he
this.
did all- that's what I was trying to tell you.
But I'm saying, let me tell that story
You
too.
tell that
No,
story.
because as a fan, you know, you get these impressions, but they're not accurate.
They're not.
Okay.
Go.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
You know why? Because there's a little formula. Assumption plus judgment equals X. So you assume something you don't really know, and then you judge that. And most of the time, 5% you may be right, 3% you may be right. You don't really know, in other words.
Yeah. Because I consider myself a bit of a snobby rock historian. And
Yep.
when I did my research on you, it surprised me because, and I want to talk about these things, but it was like, I found myself connecting dots like, oh, I didn't know you did that. And that makes sense. And that's where that sound went this way. And that's why it had this influence. So that's why this partnership works. But as a fan, and by the way, the albums were called Pat Benatar.
Because I was signed as.
Okay, I get you. But I'm saying as a fan, it's not Pat and Neil.
No, we tried.
And let me tell you, because I woke up at 4:30 this morning to interview you guys today, to get ready. And you know, the first thing I opened my email and somebody sent me an email. I said, Pat and Neil, and it just read like two old ladies. Like, who are Pat and Neil? Like, you know what I mean? I was like,
We are. Well, one of us is an old lady.
No, but I get that. What I'm saying is like, I'm like, who's Pat and Neil? Because the way it just rang, you know what I mean? Okay, so Rick Derringer. I love Rick Derringer, by the way.
Rick's the greatest. Really great
Please
guy.
tell me about Rick, because I always love rock and roll hoochie coo, but I love Rick with Johnny Winter, and I love
greatest.
what was his band? Rick's original band.
Oh, you mean
Hang on, Sloopy.
Oh, the McCoys.
McCoys.
Yeah.
Great band too.
Great band. #1 record.
Basically, everything Rick's ever touched is really good.
Yeah.
So, like guitar players, we know Rick's really good.
Great player.
Yeah.
Great.
So tell me a little bit about.
Yeah, it was
There
fantastic.
was like 400 people auditioned or something.
There was
for the gig?
200,
Okay.
200 plus people auditioned. Yeah.
That's
That's
intense.
impressive. Yeah.
Or tell the whole thing going up to it.
Yeah, I will. Hold on. So, you know, I was playing in many bands. And I was young, 21 years old. So a lot of bands like you do when you're growing up,
Yeah.
you do all these things, doing strange covers and weird songs. You know, you never play in the high school places that other people are playing, making a lot of money. We didn't do that in the bands I was with. So anyway, so I was playing in this band. I was getting kind of depressed, and I was moving around. I was playing it guitar, and keyboard. It was one of these 4-piece bands where everybody kind of switched around.
Sure.
You know, and I was playing in a band, and this person came up to me during the break and says, "Wow, you're a great bass player. Would you like to audition for what the heck is his name now? Oh, with White Trash."
The Cleveland guy.
No, he was in White Trash with Edgar Winter.
Edgar Winter.
The bass player,
Oh.
Hartman.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember now. It's like that's what happens. You get older, you forget this. But anyway,
have to get
I
us
said to
early in
him,
the morning.
audition. I said, well, I have to ask my bandmates if it's okay if I do something. And he goes, it's in New York. I says, but I'm more primarily a guitar player and a piano player.
Yeah.
I don't play
You don't
bass.
necessarily want to be a bass player. Yeah.
So he said, oh, well, Rick Derringer is looking for a guitar player. I went, can I see
Wow.
him? So he set up an audition for both of them the same day. I went to Rick first. I got done auditioning for Rick, and I says, well, I got Dan Hartman. Dan Hartman.
Oh, yeah, Dan Hartman.
And then,
Singer-songwriter Dan Hartman?
yeah, bass player, yeah. And then
It's in there somewhere.
I says, Rick, you know, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I says, I got to go audition for Dan Hartman now. He goes, no, you don't. You're not going. I says, well, I have an audition. He goes, no, you're not. So I became a finalist in the last 5 out of these 200 guitar
Right.
players. Okay, so but it goes like this. This is the funny part about this. So as I'm waiting to go do the audition the first time, this guy walks out. He's got this long black hair. He looked like Fabi, a leather jacket, all these rings and all these. He came out and went, oh my God, there's no chance I'm going to get this gig because I had a rope belt, pair of jeans, white sneakers, and a white T-shirt.
Okay.
That's all I had. And I looked at him. He goes, hey, how you doing? I go, good. I go, I'm Neil. And he goes, I'm Rudy. Rudy Valentino was his name. Now, here's the funny part of the story. So he comes out and he's like, oh, Jesus, I ain't got a chance. Well, he went in there.
Yeah.
Went really well. I had to come back for
Wait,
the...
stop 1 second. So, in order to audition for Rick Derringer, you're just jamming, you're playing a song, or?
well, they told me a few songs to learn.
Okay.
So I learned everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when I went in there and started playing, and I says, you know, you're going to do any Jerry Lee Lewis? I know you do this rave up stuff. And he goes, we might. I go, well, I play piano too. He says, well, prove it. Put the piano in there. I play it. Prove it. And what else you do? I go, well, I like to write songs. You know, I sing backup.
Yeah.
I don't care much about singing, but you know, I love writing, and he
Yeah.
does. Okay, prove it. So I had to go back to Cleveland with the band and write a song and record it.
Oh, you didn't have any songs.
No, record it. Well, not that I could play him. I was too embarrassed. So I went, wrote something, recorded it, and went back, and that's when I got the gig.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was.
And you're with Rick how long?
About a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. And actually, when we made the first record, I finished the first record. I was back in New York, and I saw Johnny Winter.
Yeah.
And he heard the record. I played him the record, and he goes, "Oh, I like that. I like that." I go, "Yeah, I'm in Rick's band. I don't think I can go back to Rick." He goes, "No." He goes, "You should be there." I
Because
said,
Johnny
"Okay."
Winter told you that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then Rick says, "You're coming back, right?" I'm sorry.
Because you felt you had an arc.
Well, here's the thing for me. And this is the basis of why this works so well from my perspective. I'm not a singer. I sing because I
he's a
have to
singer.
write.
Don't
No,
listen to
no,
him.
no,
He's
no,
a
no.
Okay, wait, stop.
No.
How good a singer is he?
He's
No.
a very good singer.
No, I'm not.
He's got real soul. It's like amazing.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
So all I'm looking for is a great singer
Right.
to work with. That's all I want. Somebody that can sing and do, because I love a lot of different genres.
You know what they say in life? Be careful what you wish.
I know that. Look what
I know.
happened. That's what I'm saying here. So, I mean, and I didn't care.
You got the full deal.
I know. I didn't care if it was a woman, a guy. I don't care. I just want a great singer. And all the bands I was with, I had singers in the band, but they weren't great. I wanted great. And then when I met Patricia, and I went, oh, I said, first thing I told her, I says, "You sure you want to do this?" You know, because
Why did you say that?
her voice was so smooth and easy, and she was doing falsetto. She wouldn't go to the note in a real real
didn't
voice.
know yet.
She
That's
didn't
what I'm
have
gonna
that
tell
yet.
Do you mean the rock?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying
she
to
would
tell
cheat
you.
on it. So
Yeah, I get it.
and then
Cheating?
that's cheating.
That's
It's
how
for,
you
for, for
execute
rock
it.
people, it's
Yes.
cheating.
It's cheating.
Yes.
So I told her, "You sure you want to do this? I don't want to be the guy that's going to
Wrecks your
damage your
voice,
voice." You know.
Oh,
So-
because to push your voice and
Yeah, because
well, you can hear what rock does to our voices.
We kept
right?
working. We kept working until we hit that
How
split.
long was that period of working?
A couple months. Because I
Are you
heard
writing too, or just working on?
just working on that bit.
Yeah.
Writing was part of that process later, but it was. I knew that there was something else that she had in her that she had to get to because she had all this range and but it didn't carry. This note did not carry with the regular voice here. It went to falsetto. I said, "You can't do that.
Can I tell
We
you
cannot
my
do that."
part now?
Yeah, please.
You do that.
It's your turn.
The reason this happened.
You guys are so cute
But
together.
this
They're
is
not
what
cute. Huh?
No, but this is
observation.
what happened. What happened is that what I was saying is that when I was making the record the first time, I had all these people who were amazing players, but none of them was doing what I was talking about. And I
Was it? Sorry to interrupt you. Was it an emotional thing you were after, or a feeling? Explain it to me. Explain it to me how you explained it to them.
I was looking for this really powerful bed to sing on top of.
Is that rock to you, or just an emotional feeling?
No, it was a musical thing. I was looking for.
Emotional.
I hate to interrupt you, but I really want to understand. Is it rock that
Well,
you?
I mean-
Are you saying I want to sound like this band, or is it an emotional? You understand? Like what?
I do,
What's
but-
the languaging you were using?
Okay,
Because you did get there obviously together. And I was one of those
Because
people who
it
bought that
was-
first
I was
record and was like,
looking-
what is this? So whatever you figured out was good, but I want to know what you told him.
Okay, I didn't want to be a girl singer singing falsetto parts up at the top. I wanted to be this other thing. I heard it. I knew what I heard in my head. There wasn't enough bass of music. Like I didn't have enough power underneath it.
To push you.
That's right.
Okay, I got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened was when then Mike Chapman came in with Peter Coleman, Mike and I were sitting together, and he was hilarious. He could do like 3 songs, and I was like, whatever. And Peter was going to do the record, which turned out to be the best thing that happened. But Mike and I sat together, and he said, "What do you want?" And I told him that, and he said to me, "I got your guy."
Because I was with Derringer. He saw me because he produced Rick's record.
But Mike
early
Chapman had
record.
also done like the Suite and stuff like that.
that
So
stuff.
he knew how to get a.
But
Oh,
he
yeah.
knew exactly what I was talking about.
So when you explained it, he thought of him.
He thought of him, and I said, "Okay, fine, let's do it. So all he wanted us to do was to meet each other.
Okay.
That was it, because he knew exactly what I was talking
So
about.
take me to that first meeting. You look and say, here's my future musical partner, here's my future husband. Like, what was your first impression?
It was everything. But the
They say women know, right? They do. They say
It was okay.
my wife said she knew right away, and it just took me 12 years to figure
I
it
didn't
out.
know what to do with that because it was
I got that.
so
We'll stay on the professional side of the equation.
No, but I'm saying no. But I mean, we can. It's an important part of the day is that I was signed, okay, as me, with a bunch of fabulous musicians who were just coming and going. No band, not yet. We're at SIR. He's coming down.
SIR here?
No, New York.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We don't know each other at all. I know about him.
Was he wearing a rope belt when he came in?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And when they
rope belt.
told
Jeff
her
rope.
to go to New York to meet this person, he didn't know at first that I was a female. He didn't know.
He just heard a singer.
And the first thing he said was,
She good looking. I mean,
Well, that's what a guy would
I'm
say.
telling you, man. I mean, what are you
so,
gonna do? I mean,
that's, so I want you to understand where that was where that was. But they told him that I was this.
See, this empathy here is I'm Sicilian too. He doesn't know that, but
You are too, so you
I'm
connect.
feeling the flow.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. That's why we connect.
And I am a ball buster because it is the women's movement, and I'm not having anybody tell me what to do ever, okay?
I kind of got that feeling right about now. I just met you, but
So anyway,
why I'm quiet.
now I'm prepared for this guy who they're telling me all about now. He's young. I mean, he's younger than me. All this stuff and everything. And I have my back to the door. I'm talking to my manager at the time, and they say, Neil Giraldo's here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm signed. Okay. And he says, I hear him say that he didn't bring his guitar.
Well, no, I was playing piano first, so,
Right,
this
but he
that's
didn't,
different.
so he was going to play piano. He didn't know what he was coming to play. And he says to somebody in the room, my back is still to him, can I borrow your axe, man? And I'm like, what? And I'm like going to turn around now and just go like this, okay? And I turn around ready to just like this. I turn around and I go, oh my God, okay? He hasn't played a note. He turns around and he's got the guitar on his body and he goes like this, like that.
I know how he stands on stage. I got it.
Right.
I got
okay.
it.
So now I'm seeing
All
him.
swagger.
Now, and I want to
gotta have a little
smack my
swagger.
own face, okay? I want to smack out of myself, like, get a grip, okay? What the are you doing, okay? And I'm looking at him and I don't know, I can't even breathe now. And he hits one chord. And I'm like, that was it.
That was the sound you were looking for.
That was it.
Yeah,
Of course, you found out all this stuff later, right?
Yeah,
you're
this is all
just
later.
like, I just wanted an A chord.
I know.
A&R guy.
oh yeah, the A&R guy. But what she misses, what she leaves out is the fact that, yeah, Mike saw me play. Mike was the guy that connected us all. Saw me play with Derringer
Yeah.
because he produced the record before.
Okay,
The record
right.
before with Derringer. So he's perfect. He's a guy that understands song structure,
Sure.
can play instruments, he can help with the writing, the produce, all these things. Here I am, ready to come. Perfect match. So I go down there because I want to talk to her. It's kind of like we're auditioning each other in a way. Because what is it you want to do, and how could I be helpful?
Yeah, and
in
for all
this?
you know, it's just another.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I sit down at the piano and play piano. I says, well, what are you thinking about? I heard some of the demos in those, or whatever that part of that record was, and it wasn't anything like.
What did it
she
sound
was
like to you?
talking.
Like kind of schlocky.
Well, there was first of all, it was
AOR kind of.
Clean.
well, there was no
Grit.
there was no emotional giving of attitude or punch, or it wasn't there.
Couldn't be.
And her singing was very light, like, hitting the notes, pretty. And then she did a cover of Crying, Roy Orbison, Crying. Okay, beautiful. But that ain't what you're trying to do here.
What I
Yeah.
meant.
So when we started playing at that rehearsal, I started playing and I stop and I say, what, you just talked about what you want to do. That's not happening yet. So that's when I knew we had to start developing,
Okay.
changing keys,
Yeah.
arrangements, things, pushing, working
But with
together.
substance below.
So what convinced you that you wanted to be musically involved? The life part is coming, but the musical, like what were you like, okay, I want to, or did you just see it as an opportunity?
I saw it as an opportunity, but it was also a gift because of the the raw talent. It wasn't as though Patricia was doing clubs for 10 years prior to that. In that rockin' world, the world that we grew up in, she wasn't experiencing that. She was not that, quote, I hate to do this chick group, chick girl singer in rock.
I totally know what you mean.
She wasn't
Yeah,
that.
no, I wasn't.
She was, when I met her, I'm thinking, you're such a normal, nice, you're educated, you went to school.
Yeah.
You know, all these things, you didn't play.
And probably not, and also not overly affected in how she
No.
was singing, right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was this
blank
really,
slate.
this really virgin musical journey that I could be able to really embrace and be from a
So
beginning.
you saw your own kind of.
Oh, totally. It was a way that a partnership, because when we met and we decided that, yes, okay, I'm the guy and this is going to work, there was a partnership done between her and I. We were equal partners. She had the record deal, but we were equal partners in the fact that we were anything. In other words, it was a pretty strange thing, but when the A&R says, I'm glad this is going to work, you can do anything you want.
That's right.
That was the word. Anything you want.
So
Anything.
you guys met in '78, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So please don't jump too far ahead. But you mean '78? How soon from that, let's call it ground zero of meeting, and you go, uh-oh, like I have this feeling. How soon are you talking like you're talking now? Is it six
actually
weeks,
was-
6 months?
In music or which way?
Well, in my mind, in the movie, in my mind, there comes a day where you guys sit down at a coffee shop and go, okay, we got to sort of figure this out because whatever's happening here is bigger than.
Okay, you mean
Correct. This was 70.
romantically as well.
It doesn't matter. It just strikes me that your partnership is so intense, and obviously, it's remained.
We decided.
It was in
very-
79 too, by the way. It was in the month of May, I think, in 79 when we met. Yeah.
That's true. It was at 79. I knew they told me about it in 78, but we decided this immediately because I was such a willing acolyte.
But are you pitching him on love and business, or just business?
No, we're not together. We make that whole record not together.
Yeah, we weren't
We're
together
not
then.
together.
But you're having these feelings.
No, we're losing our
Yes.
minds, but we're like, we know what this means, and we know that we should not do this because.
Is it if we cross this line, we
That's
might
right.
fuck up this other thing
Totally.
that's obviously
And they
going to work?
counseled, They were in there.
Okay.
Don't you dare! Don't.
Oh, so you had other people in your ear.
Yeah, they were in there like, do not f this up. Okay, now we were like insane. Okay, it was crazy, but it made that record really fun because it was so much tension and all that kind of stuff going on. It was fabulous.
And how are you feeling through this whole?
I had a girlfriend, and I was living in Southern
married.
California. She was married, and I had a girlfriend, and then that went sideways. So,
I
and
blessed
then
that day.
that was the universe kind of talking.
I mean, he was like all hooked up. It was, it was like a thing, and I was trying to get divorced, and as soon as I knew that this was going to happen, I sent people to take him to get divorced. So we had just like that, So
All right, back to business.
Yes.
First record, right? I got this right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and this has gone on, a lot of covers
Yeah.
interspersed, but great songs, cool choices, like the Rascal song.
You Gotta Run.
Was that on the first or second?
Second
album?
record.
Okay, but I mean, I always liked that you guys picked really cool.
For cover songs?
Yeah.
I wasn't writing yet, and he wrote the only song that we had that was original was "We Live for Love."
Off the
I
first
love that
record.
song.
I
You
know,
like that one?
because he
See, sorry, we're talking like Schneider. But when she uses falsetto in that song,
Yeah.
in that context, it's
That was
actually very new wave.
that
Correct.
Was the point.
That was the point.
But that works.
That works.
yes.
That was intentional
Because
for that.
knowing I was going to talk to you guys, I went back and started listening to stuff, and I had this sense where I'd be like, that song, because I heard it obviously, but I was like, oh, I love that song. When your voice goes up, it's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's a great
It's very alternative.
Yeah, it was.
That was when
Is
we did.
Clown on the first
we
record?
yeah, we
Yeah,
did
we did
64 vocals for that, but not 8. We did 8. She didn't sing it 64 times.
did, though.
We did 8, and then we would fly it in.
Okay, I
off
get
ahead,
you. Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
all this.
But I think this is cool, just as a side note, is your appeal is the rock audiences embraced you, which was unique. Chicago, Cleveland, like
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
girls singing rock, you had to be the right person. So if you
Correct.
look at the era, like whether it's you or Chrissy Hynde, very few women kind of broke through with a
Totally.
rock crowd embrace them.
Totally.
But what's interesting is the alternative crowd that was coming, that was listening to you, you were just as influential in this other way.
Correct.
So your rock world and your alternative world all comes from these moments that you guys are creating. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It was fun.
That must be, yeah. Again, I go back to that genre stuff, the diversity, and that was really important to me as a
So
musician and
it was a
writer.
conscious kind of decision.
Yeah, I wanted to go into a lot of different directions because, again, the gift having the great singer,
We were able to.
I was able to do anything. I mean, it was this.
Well, you know, once you have success, then they're gonna.
Oh, it was
let you go.
beautiful. Yeah, it just
But, you know,
it,
like in the
it
first
worked.
record, because Peter Coleman was such an incredible
Great,
teacher,
great
and a
engineer.
mentor.
Oh my God.
He was so, he just was like, he knew what we had as individuals. He knew what we had when we came together. And he was all about giving us a safe space to go.
Yeah.
He was great.
You know, there was no, like, nothing was wrong. Nothing wasn't okay. Everything was, throw everything against the wall, because we had the capability to do that. We were able to do that the way that, you know, because one of us, me, didn't have a clue. I was willing to do anything. You know
She
what
was
I mean?
great back then. What the A&R said, he could do anything. I could do anything I want, and she was
I
like,
was like, sure.
okay, okay.
So is the
great.
internal conversation, hey, are you? I'm speaking as if I was him. Are you willing to let me kind of throw you where I want to throw you and see what works? And you're like, cool, let's have fun.
Let's
That's
have
it.
fun. Let's
Okay,
do
great.
it.
So
correct.
your lack of knowledge, and so let's call it the rock side of the equation, helped him figure out who you were.
It was it helped me figure out who I
Well,
was.
what's so amazing about that, and credit to both of you, is whatever came out sounded like you
Totally.
in the fan's mind. Like that sound is you. Like there's no other
Correct.
sound that's you. So that's where I was a fan. Listening.
Correct.
That was
I
the
love that.
part that I heard in my head.
Well, that's what's amazing. So, from a nerd question,
Yeah.
I was always struck, and I was listening today. The guitar always seemed to be cleaner than I wanted it to be. Was that a conscious decision to make room for her voice?
Well-
or did you, because the songs rocked. It's not like
Right.
when you cranked them up, they sounded amazing. Because we had the classic tube stereo in the
Yeah.
basement. My father being a musician, that's where they did all their cocaine, you know. So we had a really loud stereo. I had the first two records and cranked them, right?
Cranked
They sound great. But I'm saying from a nerd point of view, was that space conscious, like you were talking about space before?
Not conscious in only thing was when I never liked the overly distorted guitar because I couldn't hear the articulation, and I love
You
playing.
always played Strats back then, right?
No,
What was it? I remember you playing Strats live. Or is that
yeah,
it?
no, I did Strats and Tellys.
Yeah.
BC Rich gave me guitars in the early '80s as well, and I used those too as well with the humbuckers, that kind of stuff. But I always had a cleaner tone, even if I played with a distorted amp. It always came out cleaner, and I don't know why.
It's just the way you.
I think it's the way I attack heavy
Yeah, it's
strings,
interesting.
real heavy strings,
Yeah.
and
Real
I,
heavy
I
strings.
fight the guitar. To
Okay,
fight
maybe that's
back.
part of it.
Yeah.
Because your sound's so distinctive.
Correct.
Now, as a kid, I wanted more like heaviness.
Sure. Well, you guys had, yeah.
But I'm saying I always wanted that. I always wanted that. And even live, I've heard live recordings where it's a little bit more like typical rock sound. But listening to the records now, the genius of it is the clarity is there because it's really about celebrating her voice.
Correct. Oh, always. It was always
The
that.
older producer in me says that was the right decision.
Always.
As a kid, though, I wanted more like loud.
Right.
Sure.
No, it's always about space. So the listen, nobody's going to be walking around singing guitar parts. You're listening to the vocal. That's the most important
Because
thing.
he was the most generous person. He was yards ahead of me when we started. Yards.
How about now, though?
We're equal. Well, I'm a little bit. Just a little.
Big as God. But my point is, he was,
don't
he
listen
was
to me
years ahead of me, yards ahead of me in that area of the world.
I get it,
now,
yeah.
it wasn't like I wasn't a school musician. I was, but not here. This was fascinating to me because I had all of this education, and I could articulate, and I could, I could basically sing in anything that I wanted to sing in, except this, really. So this was nothing but fun, but he was so generous. This was I can't even tell you what a glorious first time this was, because everyone that was in there, we were all about the good of the whole. He was always he was last. He made himself last all the time. It was always about the song. It was always about the performance of the song. And that's what he did. The arrangements, he did working and working, and he was learning engineering. He learned in like a moment. And it was amazing because it gave me that bed that I was looking for, a freedom and safety that I could fly.
Yeah. Okay, so you're on tour. You're still, you're feeling this like, at what point does this dam break open where you're like, okay.
Before we go on tour.
Yeah, before the first show. Yeah.
Because his girlfriend breaks up with him, and we're sitting at lunch, and meanwhile, I'm pretty much going to commit suicide because I can't take it any longer. We've made this whole record. I'm going to kill myself, and I don't know what to do anymore, and I don't want to screw this up, and I'm trying to be my Capricorn self and not screw this up. And I'm a very pragmatic, grounded human, and I'm dying. And he sits down and he says, I have to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, he's going to quit the band. We didn't even get out. We didn't even go. Okay, all right, fine, I'm going. We're going to go have a drink together in the afternoon after rehearsal. And he says, she's leaving me. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I'm like this. I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, yes. Because I'm like the Catholic girl who would never take another girl's boyfriend.
See, back to Roman Catholics.
Okay.
There it is.
We're back.
This would never happen. I am a principled person. I would never do this. All he had to do is say that. Done.
I know.
Start left.
Yeah, I know. I laughed to myself.
So, 79-ish, you guys are doing are you doing those tours like back then where they just throw you on as an opening act? Were you doing that?
For a minute.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
For a minute. We got
But then the
fired.
record takes off and then you're
We
headlining?
get fired. We get fired. They can't go on after us. People that we're opening for can't go on after us. We get fired.
You want to name any names? Who fired you? I want to know.
But it wasn't not fired.
Well,
No
they
fired.
they want you to go home.
Yeah, not fired.
Yeah, they don't want you to look better than
Yeah,
them.
we once. Oh, it's funny. At the very beginning, we opened for Eddie Money, and he's a great guy.
I've met Eddie.
And
He's
he's
right
great.
out of Central Casting.
Yeah, he's like,
Terrific, great.
yeah, he's like Rodney Dangerfield.
Totally, yeah.
And his mother came up to us and says, you guys should be closing. Eddie, you should be opening up. His mother tells us that.
Oh my God.
No, yeah. So
Yeah, it was.
we didn't do very.
It didn't last
It didn't
long.
last very long at all. We went straight to arenas. We didn't even.
Well, not a re-
On the
we went-
first album?
No. We went from clubs,
Yeah, but
and then
for a
it started.
minute, yeah,
then
right
it started
away,
going
yeah.
up pretty. It went pretty quick.
Because it got crazy like really fast.
We went
We
to
weren't
theaters,
prepared.
bigger theaters.
We weren't prepared. We went to theaters and it was like
Did you, because if you're not a rock singer in miles, which is kind of what you're saying,
Right.
when you went on the road, did you find it was hard to adjust at all?
no.
Oh, you loved it.
Loved it.
Because not everybody can make that
Oh
transition.
no, I was like in my element. I could sing every day, and I was traveling.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Because the way things work these days, like people give me tapes, and maybe it's because we're in an age of empowerment, but a lot of females will give me, they give me advice, and you can tell they haven't really sung on stage. They don't have that 10,000 hours thing.
Oh yeah,
They can sing fine.
I had always performed.
It just doesn't have the.
understood.
Yeah, but I had always performed. I did.
Okay, that's what I was curious if that was a challenge
I was
for
a
you.
competitive performer too.
Well, but back then the monitoring wasn't so great.
Oh no, it was
No,
terrible.
we didn't have
It was
that.
terrible.
I sang acoustically. I sang opera. We didn't have.
Yeah, but again, rock is a
It's
different.
a different animal.
But I'm saying that performance was not an issue to me.
Okay.
It was easy.
That's cool.
That was a piece of cake.
Yeah. I thought this was cool. I didn't know this. You Better Run was the second MTV video ever played.
Yeah.
First female, first guitar player on MTV.
Well,
Yeah.
but the first one,
Shows your
Video
age.
Killed the Radio Star, wasn't too far off.
No.
Grammy Award for Best Female Vocal on it would have been Hit Me With Your Best Shot.
No, it was Crimes of Passion, and it was the whole record. It was,
Was that it?
yeah, 1980.
Okay. Let me see here. I want to know this because I believe you guys are co-writes on this song. But tell me this. Let me read this, and then you tell me who wrote this lyric. They cry in the dark so you can't see their tears. They hide in the light so you can't see their fears. Forgive and forget all the while. Love and pain become one and the same in the eyes of a wounded child. Who wrote that lyric? I want to thank you.
Great. Yeah. It's a great
That
one.
lyric was the first time I felt somebody understood what I was going through.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I
We hear
love
that,
that song.
We hear that a lot from people that
bet you
have been
do.
hurt and wounded. Yeah,
I'm
that's,
getting chills just
I
talking
know.
about it because that was
the line that gets me is, be a good little boy and you get a new toy. Tell grandma you fell off the swing.
Yeah.
That just rips
thank you
me
for
up.
that because
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, and obviously we live in different times, but back then there was so little information if you were being abused
Yeah.
that just somebody acknowledging, because when you would go to your family back then, they'd say, well, that's what happens, or that's how we were raised.
I know.
You go to the neighbor kids and they were all getting their asses kicked too. So to hear somebody on a record that I admired singing about what I was going through was like, whoa.
That's the connection. That's
Interesting thing
fantastic.
about this song was
We love
that the
Hell is for children is the song.
Hell's for
Hell's
children.
for Children.
That's it.
The incarnation of this song happened when we were in New York, and Roger Capps, who was our bass player for many years there, we were reading. There was a serial article that came out in the Times for a couple of weekends. Neither of us had ever heard about this happening. We didn't experience. I didn't know anybody that
Are you talking about sort of
abuse.
Being abused.
ritual abuse or just kids being abused?
Just anything, any
Okay.
part of abuse. I mean, kids got spanked. I never heard about the horrors of like abusing children. I mean, we grew up in like really good families, you know what I'm saying? We didn't know any of this stuff. And I was horrified. So what do I do when anything influences me like that? I just start writing. Like I write. I just write. I write. And when we got most of it, Roger wrote, of course, Roger wrote a lot of it as well. And when we handed it over to Spider, we said, can you make the pain in these words happen with that guitar? Can you make this arrangement? Do this. And he said, give me it. And that's what we did.
Well, melodically, it was a whole scope. It was meant to start off real somber.
Yeah.
And then then you start getting a little angry, and then you're really off.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
Well, it worked.
It worked, yeah.
In the beginning, we had two things happen, which was really interesting. We had the religious right boycotting our concerts.
Okay, I didn't know this part.
They were,
Tell me.
they were
Yeah.
protesting outside.
Because you were calling out child abuse.
Yes, you know what
No,
Ted
yeah.
Cruz just did, right? You know what he did? Ted Cruz, I don't know, a couple of months ago,
A year by now.
maybe it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's talking about Biden and, and blah, 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 Biden's this, and he's like the evildoer and all this kind of stuff. And he said it's like he said, picture Biden howling at the moon, having Pat Benatar sing Hell is for Children. I was like, you
It said it
asshole.
literally, like hell is for
Literally.
children.
So this is why the religious
is
right
ridiculous.
boycotted. They protested at our concerts.
They burned the records.
In the meantime, while this was happening, we were getting bags of mail. Our post office was like, what do you want us to do with this? It was like being Santa Claus. That's how much mail we got from people,
Like yourself.
what you just said.
Yeah. It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, with things are talked about so openly. In fact, just to give you some relatability, when I started talking about child abuse in my songs in the early 90s, I was accused of using it as a marketing gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
And then and even to this day, it still happens, not so much anymore, but people will ask me to qualify the abuse.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
They'll say,
Like how
that's
bad was
ridiculous.
it?
how bad was it?
No, that-
And I said, well, nobody tore my arm off and beat me over the head with it, but are we doing the abuse Olympics? Like,
Yeah, like-
am I supposed to win a gold medal?
Yeah, what amount? What amount?
Yeah, I even had a horrific experience where a family member, I told this person about a lot of stuff that I'd been through, and they gave me a book about a boy who was horribly abused. I think it was called like A Boy Called It or something. And the abuse was like, it was so shocking what this poor child went through. And, but I remember reading the book and thinking, okay, that happened to me. There was stuff in there like, you go days without food or being locked out of your house in the cold, all these weird, and I was like, okay, that happened to me. And there were 9 things in the book. This person certainly had it worse than I did, but there were 9 things in the book that I'd been through. Like, like a check mark. And so after I finished reading the book, the family member said, did you like that book that I got you? And I said, oh yeah, it really, really touched me, And they said, yeah, I thought it would help. And I started kind of explaining what I just explained to you. And they go, oh, no, you misunderstood. I wanted you to understand that you shouldn't be complaining.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
Jesus.
because this person had it worse than you. So that's I've done a lot of different times advocacy for abused kids. But what I always say is, you know, if you've been abused.
Absolutely.
You don't have to. There's nothing to prove.
It's ridiculous.
No, of course not.
I mean, the
It's
idea
ridiculous
that there would
to
be a
even
degree
ask
of
like
abuse
that.
that would be acceptable
Yeah.
is insane, and it's not like a contest. Like, what are we talking about? That's insane.
I mean, probably as short as the last few years, I've had like big reporters ask me to qualify my abuse.
Still?
Oh,
They talk
yeah.
about it?
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Well, we live in a crazy business.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
That's
we
no good.
do.
Yeah.
So, precious time. Now you're producing.
Yeah. Well, I was producing as well. Yeah.
But now your name's on the record.
Yeah. Now they said it
That's
was
right. His
okay to put my
is
name
being
on it. Yeah.
put on the record, but he was doing it before.
I'm not saying it stops being rock, but there seems to be a shift towards maybe a wider palette.
Yeah.
Was that deliberate? I
Yeah,
mean,
of course.
So what was your aim?
I didn't want to be eighth note guitar driven songs anymore. I wanted it to spread out,
Yeah.
open up. I want to use different instruments. I want different rhythms. I play drums. I love drums. I used to play drums to Simon and Garfunkel records because they had no drums. So I used to play my own rhythms.
Yeah, yeah.
So everything's rhythm to me.
Okay, right.
And I wanted to explore more rhythm in different instruments doing it. You know.
Yeah,
I love that.
And what was your?
Yeah, you know, we were grown up now.
She was cool. I mean, after we do a record, the next day I would write something,
Something out completely-
and
like
completely different,
360.
and maybe hand it to the record company. They go, "Why can't you just do the same thing
Yeah, yeah,
again?"
of
I go,
course.
"No,
Yeah.
no, I want to keep changing and keep evolving."
Yeah, I didn't know if that was,
That was intentional.
because we're all been in that situation where somebody's trying to push you.
Never.
No,
They can't ever do anything.
they
Well, now that I've met you,
Yeah.
I get that.
the record company turned down many
Nice
things
try.
that I handed in that became hits
Sure.
because I refused to change them because I wanted to.
Walk me through that process a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think I like talking about these things publicly because these are things we talk about privately in the music
Yeah,
business.
I mean,
It's
people
like,
should
imagine
know.
you're on
Interesting.
top, you've
Yeah.
got hit records,
Yeah.
you're on MTV, you're young,
You think
everything
everything's
is going the
your
right
way.
direction, and there's some guy in the office going, nah,
Yeah.
nah, I don't feel it.
That's what happened a lot.
Yeah.
I give an example with Love is a Battlefield is I had the whole song done in my head, the whole thing, like the architectural look of it. I had the rhythm. I had all this kind of thing going on. It was my first day. I had a Lindrum. I just was randomly playing a beat on it. I made a mistake, made an 8-bar phrase, a 7-bar phrase. I liked the rhythm of it. I was starting to build it. But I had all the parts. I had everything all working. And even our engineer, he co-produced with me, Peter Coleman, was ready to tell me that I think you need to listen to a record company, and I think we need to do this some
It's the
different
first
way,
time, yeah. Mhm.
a different way. I says, I'm not going to do that, Pete. He goes, okay, let me listen to it tonight. So he goes home. He never drinks. He doesn't drink. He drinks half a bottle of cognac. He realizes as he's with those Altic speakers, you remember those Altics?
Yeah.
As big
Oh,
as,
yeah.
He had those in his house. He played the demo, not the demo, he played where we were at with it.
Yeah.
And he finally realized, he went, oh my God, I think Neil's onto something. So he came in the next day, he goes, I support you for whatever we need. So I refused to
I covered
change
that
it.
song once. You probably have never heard it. But I
never
think
heard it.
It was bootlegged out, but it's.
Was it?
I did for a movie.
I'd like
Oh,
to
yeah,
hear
that's cool.
Yeah, I did this really. I tried to find it because I thought I'd mention, and if I could play it for you on a phone, but I can't find it. But
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
I'll send it to you, no problem. But
Sure.
it's like a really sad acoustic version.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
Yes,
how
if you
the song
slow
was
it-
written.
That was kind
See
of
if you-
began,
oh, I didn't know that.
It
So-
began like that.
Yeah.
But then I heard this thing, I heard it quicker. It just happened.
Yeah, because as a
this
fan, when you
happens.
guys went there, I didn't get it. I
Well,
think it's
many
now I
people
love it.
didn't.
I think it's amazing.
Well,
It's
here's the
one of the
tip,
great
though.
songs.
Here's what I did a lot.
Yeah.
I love
This is
doing this.
great.
I do this. I believe that life of records have a longer shelf life if you don't like it when you first hear it.
That's interesting.
It's really important because you're unsure. You can't understand what's going on. Like, what is he thinking about? Like,
Yeah.
what is it? And then you listen to it again and go, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Then if it works,
Yeah.
they love it for life.
Yeah.
Kind of like cilantro.
That's sort of like cilantro. Yeah.
But see, but still, this is my own version. But like when I first heard the song, I didn't get it, and obviously it was a big hit. And I saw the video and the
Right, that crazy stuff. Yeah.
and then when I was doing this soundtrack in 2001 for a movie called Spun, it was about a bunch of meth addicts.
Oh, wow.
And the director was like, "What do you want to do musically?" And I said, because I'd done enough drugs that I thought, what would people want to listen to if they're coming off of drugs? So in my mind, it was acoustic, but I didn't want to do Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Correct.
So I had this
want
idea.
it
Now, of
deeper.
course, we hear it everywhere we go to cafes. But it was the idea of taking popular songs, but kind of making them kind of sad acoustic songs.
Sure.
So that song kind of popped out of the ether of me, and then I did this cover.
The
of it.
song was
go.
originally written as a
As a ballad. As a ballad. Slow,
Yeah, it was
slow,
like,
slow
right,
ballad.
"You're
But
bidding
then,
me go.
Yeah.
I'm like, and he's like, no.
and I go, it's just like, I just heard
That's
Bo
so
Diddley.
fantastic.
Bo Diddley on
He's like,
some
no.
sort of
Yeah, well, it works.
medication. Yeah, but
Tell him how you got the beat.
I just did with the Lindrum.
You told him that?
I just did.
I didn't hear that.
You were
Yeah,
thinking
it's
about your
happening. Yeah,
contractors.
Yeah.
You got
I did it with We Belong to, the same thing. A
Yeah.
lot of rhythm, wacky, like why can't you just play on the keyboard? Why do you have to have all this stuff going on? But
Plus,
that's what I
you know,
do.
they were constantly in our face all the time.
That's so crazy to me. I
They
mean,
were in
I
our
went through the
face.
same things.
Yeah.
I
We
mean, I
go
think
through this.
everybody
It's all
does.
the same.
They're in your face, and we gave them a control on the
Console.
console that we said, well, you think
You can
you
change a
just
few
do
things,
that.
but-
Go ahead. It was attached to nothing, and they would go, and then we come back and they go, what do you think? We go, it's actually an improvement. That's really great. And meanwhile, they did absolutely nothing, but they drove us nuts. But we never. It was always like this to me. You know what I mean? Like really.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm just in my own head because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like those
Okay, I
experiences
know
just
you
always
did.
blow my
You
mind.
did
All is the
this.
same.
You did it too.
They're all
you
the
know.
same. Everybody goes through them.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what? If we're the artists and they're not, and they're the car salesman, and I get that, and they're really good at that. But if they were us, they would be doing it. But they're not, and they're never going to be us, and they don't get it ever.
Yeah. So, as your relationship goes public, or it is public, how is that how did you navigate that? And I'm saying it from the context of, we had a female when we started in our van for the first, 10, 12 years. And I saw all this weird sexist stuff go on. So I can only imagine what people were putting on you, both just as a female, but also a female in a relationship.
Correct. Well,
Sorry.
yeah.
I mean this as a compliment. When I think of you two together, I can't think of any gossip. I've never heard any gossip on you guys.
We could start some if you want.
Okay, but I'm
We have
saying
it some.
you guys have had
use
your
them for a
your
street
relationship is very quiet.
Right.
It is quiet.
We
Like,
try
I
to
can't
keep
think
that
of a
quiet.
single thing that people talk in studios.
don't-
I've never heard an unkind word about either of you.
This is
I've never
why-
heard like, oh, this or that. Like,
It's by design.
They used to say, like, what?
so that's kind of what I'm after. What were
Yeah.
they saying? Because
I-
they must have been curious.
I think in the beginning they called me, what was I?
Svengali.
No, that was like Bengali. It was, who was the guy with the pretty girl wife?
Rick Ocasek?
No,
Lang? Mud
no,
Lang?
no,
What? I don't
no.
know.
He was, wow, what's that guy's name? He was a director. He was a director. And they called me that guy. I can't remember the name. His director and his wife was real pretty. Was it 10? Was the movie called 10?
You're talking
Oh,
about
Bo Derek.
Oh,
John
Derek's.
Derek.
oh, John Derek. So you were John Derek. Well, that's not
That's
too
John
bad.
Derek.
John
That was
Derek
like kinda
did
like
the
that.
Pink Panther movies.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not-
John Derek.
Not a
This is
terrible
better.
comparison.
Yeah, no, but that, like, this was the guy that was kind of doing all this stuff,
Right,
and
that
he
was-
was controlling and doing all this.
Okay, so
like
so
that.
there's a perfect example. So what's the implication? You're some puppet robot, and he's really the.
Yeah, for like
Yeah,
8
that's-
seconds.
I mean, I wouldn't let
It
that.
lasted 8 seconds because I was like,
I
well,
wouldn't let
fine,
that
well,
be.
Like, what are we
That's
talking about here?
that's just silliness.
So when he starts doing this other productions, I assume you're supportive with this because like Rick Springfield
yes, of course.
and all this other stuff.
Sure.
So I just talked to Rick Springfield a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was
in that chair.
fantastic.
And he mentioned you.
He's a good friend.
Yeah, what a sweetheart. But again, like, so now when I think of Jesse's Girl and knowing you're on it, and I never knew that until the other day. It's like, well, duh. Now I hear you.
Sure. Yeah, that's it's kind of funny. It's the story of my life.
We've had.
Yeah, it's the only #1 single. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done a ton of stuff, but I don't go around making noise with it
Okay.
and stuff.
I didn't know you'd done this song, and I love this song, John Wait Change.
Oh yeah, I produced this.
But again,
that was his
the
first
minute
solo
I saw
record.
that you did it, I went back and listened to
And
it
then
because
you
I
know.
was like, "Is
Then
that
you
this?"
know.
And I was like, "What you did, I love in that song." But I never knew that was you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was his first solo record, and anybody I've ever worked
But
with.
was he from the Babies, John?
Yeah, Babies.
Yeah.
But everybody I've ever worked with, I've never had a falling out with anybody. You know, I produce a record for them. We're still friends. You know, it's,
He
Rick,
did Ben Hart, he did Steve Forward, he did some of that.
Yeah.
Did you do the Dillards?
Oh yeah, Dillard, sure.
Dillards?
Dillords.
Oh, sorry, I like the Dillards, if you remember.
No, the Dictators.
The Dictators turned into the Dillards.
My good brother, friend Scott Kepner was with the Dictators.
Yeah.
He formed Dellord's great band.
So you're also having success as a producer. Was that any, not tension, I'm not looking for gossip, it's like, did you feel like you had to make choices, or
No.
it was outside of your professional relationship anyway?
The only choices I made, Ozzy wanted me to make a record for him, and I
was
wanted
that?
to do it. How was it?
No, when was that? Sorry.
It was right after that record. It was called Howl at the Moon. Was that the name of the record?
Yeah,
before?
Bark at the Moon?
Bark at the Moon. It was going to be the next record. And I couldn't do the record because we were going on the road, and I wanted to give him enough time. Back then I was talking about doing real life loops, but not digital loops.
Yeah.
Just a lot of different creativity in the process of making a record. And we got on really well. And I didn't do that record. I really wanted to do it, but I couldn't because we had to go on the road. So that was the problem was I didn't have the time.
That's kind of what I
really
was
wanted.
after, is like,
I didn't have
the
the time.
balance of choices. 'cause
I had a band I really liked too. I wanted to do too. I didn't have time. Swimming Pool Cues. Do you remember them?
I do remember that.
Oh,
was
I
kind
used
of,
to love
that was
that.
kind of my generation, right?
Yeah. They were cool. I like those guys and gals.
It seems around 85 that your output, obviously collectively, your output becomes a little bit more sparse. Was there
We
a
have
reason
our
for
first
that?
Child. We have our first child.
So is that because you want to devote more time to your family, or is it?
Yeah, we still made a record every year until '89, I believe.
Yeah, we were contracted to do it every 9 months.
But it seems you can feel somewhere around
Yeah.
85
Change,
there's this
definitely.
Yeah,
change.
we changed. We
But that's
went
when
into different
we also
directions.
did this really cool thing. I mean, it did. It was never going back to what it was before, never. But we did.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, it was because we had a baby now, and you talk about sexism. There was no handbook for this, okay? Let me tell you about this. And because we were contracted to do a record every 9 months, they sat me down. I remember it was terrible. I was breastfeeding. That baby was probably, how old is she? 4 weeks, 5, 6 weeks old.
Something like that.
We have to have a lunch, and they're gonna talk to me. Now I'm breastfeeding, and I'm like freaking out, and I got it all padded in my shirt because I'm gonna have to leave my child for the first time, and it's not even 2 months. And they're telling me that, okay, that's great, you guys had a baby and all that, but chop, chop, okay? So we're at lunch, and you can't talk about a baby, as you know, because you have them with your wife, when you are breastfeeding, because the minute you talk about the child, your body reacts. I had to go in the bathroom of the goddamn restaurant we were in and wring out everything because I was experiencing letdown, and there was no slack. They didn't care. They didn't care about that. I had a newborn, and all they knew is it was time to go back in the studio. It was the only time I was violent in the studio. I threw a stool through the glass window in Capitol Records.
Were you there?
Probably.
Yes.
I'm pretty passive.
Blocked it out.
I blocked it
They
out.
made us or put us on extension, and that because
Explain extensions.
extension means that if you don't do a record in a certain amount of time, they will freeze all of your royalties and everything else, and then the contract extends.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Which
they
is not good.
threatened, and I had our baby outside in a Winnebago with my parents watching that child so that I could go in there and make that goddamn record. And you know what the name of that record was? 7 the Hard Way. So talk about sexism, oh yeah, and misogyny right there. No slack. And I talked to Chrissy backstage, and I said to her, she had Natalie, and I said, how are you doing this? And she said, I'm not. Because that was the part. Like, I had conquered all that boys club and everything else, but this next part, oh no, this is something else altogether. And that took time. So that's why that slowed down, because I had to navigate, learn how to do this, go in guns blazing, and figure out how to make them stop and be able to go in there and do what we had to do.
Yeah. And your side of this equation, are you just working?
I'm just
He's
working.
Yeah.
He's
I'm so deep. I still am to this day. I'm just so deep into that.
Yeah.
I used to have a philosophy, it's wrong, when it was passive and assertive. In the studio, I'm very assertive. She's very passive in the studio. In real life, outside the studio, I'm very passive. She's very assertive. I used to think that was the right. I was thinking that's the right way, but it's really not, because you got to kind of be equal. And,
But I mean, he was
stuff like that.
supportive of
But support all
No,
the
I get
time.
that. It's
Easy
just-
going.
But
Yeah, I
it
don't.
wasn't his fight. It was my fight.
Okay. So, because I think it's important, because I think the music business is still grappling with, for lack of a better word, balance.
The universe is grappling with balance.
Okay, but let's stick to the music business.
Yeah,
'cause
don't go
we
political,
We
sir.
can't, we
Don't
can't
go-
solve all.
I wasn't going political.
That was
I
leaning.
just
I
thought-
could-
No, what I'm,
I'll
no, I didn't mean it that way. I'm
Not
saying
much has
is,
changed.
what I'm saying is because you're so respected, I think the question I think to ask is, what would have been the optimal circumstance in that? And just hit pause on that 1 second, because people in the music business are just now starting to grapple with mental health issues.
Right.
Like, look how many people in my generation are gone,
Yeah.
and we're gone by way too
Yes,
early, and
yes.
would be out there, by the way, to all you capitalists, would still be out there making money.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true.
And they gave two with those people driving off cliffs,
Yeah,
True.
right?
no question.
So
I felt that
so,
yesterday.
So I have an answer. If you ask me, what should be the position of the music business vis-a-vis mental health? They finally started at least dealing with the drug issues. So the question I want to ask you is, what would it, for you as a mother, especially young mother, what would have been the optimal circumstance for you so that it helps us sort of figure out how to do that going forward collectively?
Okay, you cannot separate this from the worldview. And I'm not talking about politics.
Okay.
This is the world view. It's like jumbo shrimp, okay? You can't separate the music business. The music business is just a
How does
trick
Jumbo Shrimp get into that, though?
because it's an oxymoron. It's like you are still, no matter, I don't care what you do for a living, you can have it all, but you sometimes cannot have it all at once.
Okay.
Okay? So this is my point. This is what happens. I don't care what you do for a living. If you are the female and you are having the babies, there is a path that doesn't change. I don't care who you are or what you do.
Okay, so practically, time off.
Yes, if you would have given me 6 months, if you would have just been a little bit kinder and more compassionate, it didn't even, like, it was like, okay, like, get a nanny. Basically.
I see.
It was the most
Well, the new.
misogyny.
I don't want to say what they're doing now. But
Right, I know. But it was disgusting.
don't
It was
even-
disgusting. And for being their premier person, it didn't matter a goddamn bit. Nothing.
That's hard to hear.
Yeah, it's real.
Is it true you haven't made an album since 2003?
Correct.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what I saw, and I was like, I had a hard time believing that.
Seems like a long time.
It is
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long
over
time.
20 years.
No interest
know.
in doing it either.
Okay, tell me why, though.
Yeah, I'm still writing. I still
We write
write a
songs
ton,
constantly.
a lot. I did film scores. I do films and stuff.
We have 150 songs written.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's like I don't see like I can't put this into words. I don't see like a 360 view for a whole record. I don't see that. I don't know.
Is it circumstantial for you? Like,
It's hard to articulate this. It's like I want a record where song 1 to song 13 all makes sense in its togetherness. And I don't have that because it's so diverse. There's so much diversity. I
is
don't
it because
want
of the changes in the business or the
No.
changes in the music
No,
landscape?
no, just us. It has nothing to do with the business. I don't
Okay,
care.
I'm
anything about
trying
that.
to understand.
Yeah, no, not that. It's just from a artistic point of view,
There's
right?
no path for this.
So for that,
For me.
But tell me what that means.
It means that the amount of time.
well, that's different for her than me. So
But I mean, I'm saying this for both of us. The amount of time and consideration and everything else it is to give out that much art that no one is going to hear.
Okay. But see, this is where I'm going to disagree with you.
yeah,
don't know, but
I
wanna
don't believe
disagree.
that.
Really?
I'm
But
not believing
telling you,
that.
that's my motivation.
No. But I want to parry with you a little bit
Yes.
because I'm curious about this.
So
Because I'm in a similar circumstance.
yes.
You know what I mean? Because we're all looking at the same horizon.
You would
But
be.
for me,
No question.
it's
I
no
understood.
loss.
Okay.
It's not a loss for me.
Can I argue with you as a fan?
No, I understand that part. I do, and I understand
Well, look,
that.
can I give you a slightly different take on that? Then?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking permission.
You got permission.
Thank you.
It's only because I'm older. It's okay.
Let me say it as a sort of an overall comment because I've struggled with the same issue. So let's say we've all looked down the same telescope lens and we go, hey, back in the day, at least there was this straight line. Do this, do this, do this, get it right, you win.
It worked.
And you feel it and you're there. Now, as we say often in my group, who knows what success is anymore? The business is basically reduced to who can sell tickets.
That's what it is.
That's correct.
Music has just become a marketing tool to sell tickets.
Correct.
We grew up in a time where it was the other way
The other way around.
That is
No
correct.
question.
Okay, so I understand the dynamics that you're.
Yes.
But here's my one argument, and please argue with me if you disagree. I think that we all grew up with, I hope I die before I get old,
Yep. No question.
right?
Definitely.
We've all blown past that. And I'm not talking about, hey, I hope I can go see you guys play these great songs one more time. I'm talking about a new way of thinking because in many ways we're tasked with how to change the way the business works because no one before us was put in this circumstance. So in many ways, we're the first people on this new planet,
Correct.
which is called social media over here and
That's right.
lack of a music business over here.
Correct.
So here's my one argument to you. I would be curious to hear from you where you're at right now.
Correct.
And I don't give a fuck if nobody else cares because there's only one you and only one you. And your partnership is valuable. And I'm not talking even about fans. Your voice in the wilderness of this says, I don't give a just like how you started. I don't give a what you think.
Correct.
I'm going to do this because this is what I believe in. Now, if you say you don't need it, that's different.
I don't need it, but I agree with you. I agree with you that I think it is still valuable. I think that what we do is unique to us, okay? However, the mechanism to get that where it needs to go, I don't like.
You talking about streaming?
No.
Any of it. Because my point is that if we did this record and we handed it to you to take to your house, I would love that. The idea that I have to hand this over to someone who's going to now, what? You're going to like market it like, oh, it's a comeback.
But you know, there's different business models. I don't know if
I
you
know
know about
that.
that. Okay, good.
I do.
Because that's what we're
but
doing.
It is my qualm. My qualm is do not make this like, here is a dinosaur partnership that we're going to try to make like important today, okay? Because that's not what it is. It's important because it just is. You know what I mean? So don't like put all this other crap that you're going to put it. I don't even know how to navigate what they're doing. I can learn. I'm really smart. But the point is, I don't want, like, I am a principled person. You can't make me. You can't make me do stuff. I don't already like what you're saying. They're doing stuff. What are they doing now? They're putting our records out on colored vinyl. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, because their only reason to do anything is financial. And my only reason to do anything is artistic.
But can I raise my hand now and tell you that
Yes.
I'm putting out my own records on colored vinyl?
But that's
Sure.
okay, you're
That's-
doing it.
But I'm saying you can do that too if
Yeah,
you
of
want
course.
to.
No
But
question.
their motivation, I hate the motivation.
But I'm saying you can cut that crowd out now
I know
if
that.
you want to.
That's true, but I mean, they own.
And I don't
they
think
own
you
the
guys need a
master-
check, so why don't you just do what you want to do?
Correct.
That's it. That is what I want to do. I want to only do what we have, and then I'll decide if it ever should be heard by anyone.
Okay, that's all. I'm not trying to belabor it.
Yeah. Well, just two different thoughts here. She thinks differently than I do.
So tell me how you think. Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's a difference here. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of who's going to hear it or who's not going to. I don't give a shit about any of that. Really don't. Doesn't
not
matter to
afraid.
me, because
I just
all
don't
the.
like it.
I know. Hold on a second, please. All the emotional success, not money and not anything, but the emotional success that I get from being brave and being innovative, not for the reason of just being innovative because I think it's funny and like, oh, look at me. Not that. It's not that at all. It's like, how crazy can I really get? What can I really do? How could I live up to my heroes like Brian Wilson? How could I get in that club? I want to be there with that. So I have that fire. I have that thing.
That's what
Now,
you need.
with Patricia, it's a little different because I'm really left field. I'm really left field. And when we get in it, sometimes Patricia has an opinion these days, more often than not, where she'll fight that. In the past, she would fight it just for a very short time. Now the time's
gotta
more
prove
extended.
it. You can't just be like crazy.
But see, I don't.
You have to prove it.
I won't prove it.
But you did. You just proved it. You just showed me that.
I did show you something.
That's right. And
just
what
showed
did
you
I
something.
do? Tell me what happened.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of shit about it, but you did do it.
I went right for it. Because you got to prove it.
Yeah.
Please, I want you to finish.
But I think you understand what I'm talking about because we're kind of thinking the same way. Because I'm not afraid of that. I want to be brave. I really do. And I'm working on a Christmas record, and I've been working on it for about 100 years, where it's diversity. Different people, putting people in uncomfortable situations. So if there's like a country singer, let me take that country singer, put them in a very awkward position, maybe a New Orleans Cajun-based song, right? All these awkward things to really kind of mix it up a little bit. And it's working really well. The songs, I love all original songs. They're all interesting. It's all about, it's not like Frosty the Snowman, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's about the time of year of what happens during the holidays when it gets towards the end of the year. People's relationships either break up or get stronger.
It's an intense time. Yeah.
The first of the year, they're going to take care of themselves. They're going to take care of all the emotional things that they destroyed. All these things, all that goes on. Right. That's what those songs are about. So it's not a Christmas record per se, right? Sure. But that's a reason I mentioned that is that's different than working this way because I have the diversity to go in. I'll go in with you, Billy. I have an idea for a Christmas song. Let's write, if you want to write together, let's write it together. But here, this is where I want it to live.
Sure, yeah.
That's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And I will always kind of do that. But this is a little more challenged.
If you don't mind.
Yes.
The other thing I've been surprised by, and I think you can only figure it out when you get there, is, and I've seen this thing happen, using my generation as an example. Gen X is half, almost, maybe 55, 60% of the population of the generation before and after. So Gen X, I think, might be the only generation that never has a president in the history of our country. I read that somewhere. I don't know if it's true.
That's interesting.
Gen X doesn't have a lot of power. The Gen X's one flash of power was 90s grunge,
Right.
Yeah.
90 to 96. That was our kind of moment, and then we all blew up and died. I was on the blew up one. I didn't die.
But you did die.
Well, thank
That's good. Thank God.
Thank you, Jesus.
I was wondering, the first thing I was going to say, I was happy that we're still standing. That was the
Right,
first thing
so
I was
this
going
is
to tell
kind
you.
of- Okay,
I
let's thank
mentioned
you.
that
God
to
bless. But this
Yeah.
is kind of the point I'm trying to make to you collectively. The thing that surprises me is, as we're rewriting the rules of rock and roll, partially because whatever's happened in the last 10 years has elongated the interest in what we are good at, even if it's just because of a song we did years ago.
Correct.
There's something resonant that's happening
understand
that's
that.
very different than ever happened before.
Understood.
We all remember Sha Na Na, it was like
Sure.
looking back at the greasers and the doo-wop and all that
Sure.
stuff. And we've all had that moment where it's like the 80s are in and now people are telling me the 90s are in, whatever. But what I'm surprised by, and this is a shift that's really only happened in the last 2 years, there's something about perseverance that is, for the first time in my life, become more powerful than the catalog.
That's which
And that's
is
true.
my point.
Okay, so we're on the same wavelength.
We are.
Yep.
Here's what you just said. For me, because I am a forward-thinking person, like I am right. I like to stay here, right where I am. But the next thing that I really like to do is go forward. There is nothing about going backwards that is appealing to me.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, so we're on the same-
My point is,
Correct.
I have no intention of doing anything that resembles what we did. And unless we do that going forward, I have no interest.
Okay, so last thing. Songs are always important. We know that.
Yeah.
We live in nice houses because great songs.
You got to have songs.
But I'm telling you, for the first time in my lifetime, and I've watched rock pretty good for 50 years, somehow the people that have earned some sort of respect, organic respect maybe is the right word.
Okay.
It's not about legend, it's not about pioneer, it's about something about you know what? Now that I look back, I realize that your voice and your voice and your voice has an authenticity that has lasted my life. And something about that voice back in the mix is more important to them than whether or not they like the song. Does that make sense the way I'm saying it?
I understand.
I understand that. Yeah.
So I would encourage you to at least think about it from the standpoint of you choosing to sing your song the way you want to sing it, and I don't care whatever genre it is. That ultimately, in this moment in time, in this culture, is a powerful statement to people of endurance and hope, and my life isn't over just because I crossed some sort of meridian line.
Correct.
Because we all grew up with, hope I die before I get old.
No question. Yeah, that's
Now,
that's a good
over here,
example.
the money people are like, well, look at the Stones and look at Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
That's where their brains go.
Correct.
My brain goes to, if I'm going to open the door and let all that in, or even poke my head out the door, if I don't have something new to say, why am I bothering?
Yeah, you have to be. You have to have
That's
something
my
new to say.
problem. I mean, my problem is I have literally 150 songs written.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff.
I mean, I have a lot to say always, but you know, it's got to be forward thinking and right. Now he's a maniac, so there's no doubt in my mind that he will not get that. You know, but I will give him these words. He will make it crazy like I want. I just don't know if I'm willing to. It's so much. But we tour every year. Every year. We're out every year. Even if it's 7 weeks, whatever, we still go out. And I still adore performing. I still love them. And I see half of them are very interested in anything you want to give them. Like, just give me anything. You could sing the phone book, do anything. I don't care. And then there's the other group, smaller, that only want you to stay locked in time. I have no interest in this part. None.
Yeah.
We never did.
No,
I mean,
that's what
nobody.
I'm saying. So
Nobody
but
really
I know
does.
that because I am a live performer. I watch them every day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if I give you a whole record of stuff that sounds like something you never heard before, what are you going to say about that? You know? And I mean, and I personally actually don't care what they say about it, but the truth is, why would I spend that much time doing as much as it takes to create something from scratch? You know, you're going to take, this is a lot out of your life.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. If the argument is, hey, I don't care, or I'm past that. But I'm saying, if you still, like, your husband is just as passionate as he ever was. And that would be my argument.
But it's why I write. It's why
I have a
Okay,
personal.
but the fire, I guess maybe I'm making too esoteric a point, but the fire is what's attractive.
Correct. Well, I have a personal
understand.
challenge too, a personal challenge, because I've always challenged myself with everything I've ever done, anything at all. It's always challenging myself.
Yeah.
I like to challenge myself and explain to people what, I hate to use the word rock and roll music, but to actually show what it could be, not what we know it to be, if you know what I mean.
I do.
I think, you know, the rap revolution, when that began, that's the new rock music. That's where it is.
I made the same argument.
And it's powerful.
They did a better job there for 10 or 15
No
years of
question.
representing rock than the rock
No
musicians
question.
did.
Their lyrics, the power behind them, the attitude, everything about it. Rock and roll people dropped that a long time ago. What were they thinking of? So I would like to be that person that can help kind of, not create, but kind of move that forward. I love writing. I love writing songs. I know you probably have some ADD, and I have some ADD because that's what happens. I love writing. I come up with words, but I don't like to write all the words. I'll come up with a title, a few lines, but melodies. I write melodies all day long.
Yeah.
And I write
But
words
then
all
she
day
writes words,
long.
I write melodies, and that ADD thing charges. So I take the challenge.
Yeah.
I'm all for the challenge. Mix it up. I
See,
mean,
my problem with writing, with being the, what's the word, provocateur that I like to be, is that when you do it, you got a bunch of babies who don't want you to really do it. They want you to like pretend you're doing it. Like you could be a pretend provocateur, but don't really do it. So like when I do it, and I do something, and they get all their feathers ruffled, and everybody I'm like, where the were you for the last 45 years? What did you actually
but you're caring
think?
too much about those people. We don't need to care
I'm
about
not
that.
saying, but it is my motivation for not doing
Oh,
it.
that wouldn't.
Oh, I see.
That
You know what I mean?
that wouldn't
Because
stop me.
I have no, I don't care. I don't, let's, no, okay, not that I don't care. I do care. It's not relevant to me.
Okay.
Okay? So for me to give that much energy and everything else, I'm always like, really? I don't.
Best way I can explain it, and I think it's a good way to kind of put the bow around it, is we could argue or conversate about every version of it, and we would never know which one of us was right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong right
because
here.
outside of sort of general analytics, there's really no
Right.
touchstone point anymore. And I think that what happens is it ends up being almost demotivating.
Well, that's what she's
demotivating for me.
feeling. That's what
It
she's feeling.
is.
But see, I have a problem too because I'm thinking, here we are like this, and I'm not Brian Wilson. But where's Brian Wilson now? How can why
wonder
isn't
where
he
Stevie
surfacing?
Wonder is.
Well, no, forget it. Let me stay where I'm
Meaning
at
the
here.
next Brian Wilson or the original Brian Wilson?
No, and the next one. Where's
I think that has everything to do with the way the music business is
where's
gone.
the evolution?
They've created, sorry, I interrupt you. They've created a model.
I know it's so big.
Pop is the only master. They'll pay their light bills with people like us.
Correct.
Pop is their master.
Correct.
Which is why.
I was using that as an example of his genius or what that was. Like they put California on the map. The Beach Boys, without the Beach Boys, California wouldn't exist like it has.
But if Pet Sounds Brian Wilson existed today, he'd be a hipster artist.
Probably.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The two modes of the music business are crass commercialism. I don't
Yeah.
care what I got to do. Kill my mother.
Yeah,
hit
that's all-
record.
yeah, yeah,
Auto tune me to
Yeah.
infinity. Whatever.
Exactly.
And then the hipster class,
Correct.
which is snobby and inward facing. And if you don't have the right T-shirt, you're out.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
understood.
Which is
Any-
my point.
Anybody in between those doesn't have a country.
Does exist. I think what I was getting at though with Brian Wilson is like an evolution where it wouldn't be pop. It's just his brilliance, no matter what it was. Why can't you recreate something not pop, but something from that genius mind that he has? That's what I'm saying. Is there motivation from him that way?
Well,
Probably.
Where does an
don't know.
aggressive
I don't know.
person, female like me, where do I go now? What do I do? I am a finger pointing, yell at you the entire time we're doing a concert. I speak my mind. I have there are no boundaries for me. And where am I at this day, today? Where am I today? What do I do with that? What do I do with what just happened? What do I do with
I
that?
think if you show that same passion in music, you will find an audience that will value you.
Well, no, I understand that. And my whole thing is, my thing is to come out swinging. My whole thing is like not to be quiet. That's myself.
But that's rock and roll. That's
Yeah, that's
I
the meaning of
agree.
it.
So sitting with you,
True meaning.
and we've talked plenty about how we got here, you two.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is the level of vitality.
Correct.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like, oh, now I understood what I was hearing on those records. Like it's here in front of me. That's the great luxury of interviewing great people like you, is I get to feel the engine behind it all.
Sure, of course.
So the snarl in you is still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is,
no, but I mean, yes, it is. That's my problem. My problem is there's nothing that I'm going to do right now. I am so snarly right now. I'm not cool. I am not cool. So I got all that right now. I am not cool. What am I going to do with that? That is not going to be pretty. And I don't even see an atmosphere or a universe right now where this makes any sense, except all I'm going to do is turn everything crazy. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I really want to do that.
I get that. I'm I get that. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to open your door,
Ask him what our house is like. It's not fun there right now.
My studio's fun.
It's not fun. We did a song the other day. It's fantastic. Because, we do other stuff. Like our friend is doing a musical version of Scissorhands. And we just wrote a song for Scissorhands called Beautiful Weirdos. And I almost beat the shit out of him in the studio because I said, did you go like this and pick every note to make me have to sing every crazy interval on earth because you just wanted to kill me? That's how
You got to sing
it's
what's written. That's that.
fabulous. But I really hated him because I was like, this is what he always
See, in
did
the old
before.
days, he would just say, okay.
I know, but I'm not that person. I'm like, are you? I just want to have a cup of coffee and drink a glass of wine, and now I have to do pyrotechnics, calisthenics, and everything else that ends in an ICS for like.
Don't you see the compliment? He believes you can do it, though.
I know
That's
he
what I
does.
do.
That's what
And
I'm
you did
saying.
it. I mean, you're doing it, so-
This is what he did to me in the beginning. He tortured me.
I guess that didn't work.
Well, he
what
didn't,
the heck?
apparently he didn't torture you enough because you're still
Not
here.
enough. That's exactly
He
right.
did. He tortured me. He'd go, no, it's not high enough.
I think we're going to end on the torture. That's.
The torture's a good ed.
He did.
Thank you so much for talking. It was awesome.
Yeah, Billy, this is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll have to get you in the studio. Come on. Come and hang.
Oh, you
throw
guys
s-
would have fun.
we'll throw
I wanna
something
hear
down.
that version too.
I will get you that
Yeah.
version.
We'll throw something down.
And if
Yeah,
we
we
decide to
can
do
crazy.
anything, I'm going to credit you.
Good.
Well, look at there. That's
I
good
have no
thing.
problem with
Because
taking
now you just made me insane.
I'm one of those guys, produced by, written by, conceived by,
You know what mine is?
banjo by.
Here's what I do. I do that, but then nobody knows it's me.
Well, I just figured it out, God damn it.